Welcome back to the Athlete Family Podcast, where we discuss everything performance nutrition for the entire family. Now, in the first couple episodes, we talked about load awareness. So, how to look at your schedule, be prepared for what is coming throughout the week. So, we talked about game days, which land on the weekends, being prepared for those as opposed to running out of groceries on the Thursday and having to eat all your meals out when we need to perform. And then we talked about, the whole family and the schedule and the load that parents have from a stress perspective, they need to prepare for. So we talked about the schedule. Now we are going to get into our framework on how do we take action on that schedule and get the most out of our week prepping for these events, prepping for the crazy schedules, the driving around, the nights you get home at 8, 9 p.m. We want to talk about how to look at this and also just make sure that it is, easy. It's going to be hard in the beginning because it's a lot to take in, but easy to implement over time, especially when you start getting practice on looking at this entire schedule. So let's get into it.
Pillar 2.
Pillar 2.
Here we go.
So pillar 2 is about preparation windows. So looking at your schedule, being realistic about, I can't imagine anyone who has, kids in hockey or any sport having 2 hours to prep a dinner every single night or
No
even
way.
30 minutes sometimes. Or again, maybe it's 8, 9 p.m. and everybody needs to eat and they're starving and drive-throughs look very tempting at that point. So what do? We talked about these prep windows, but we have to plan for them because like everything in our schedule, mapping out a time that is going to be specifically for, prepping some proteins, prepping some snacks throughout the week. So this is where looking at the schedule, like when do I have an hour to prep things?
Yeah.
When do I have 10 minutes? When do I have, and I know that sounds silly. It's like planning for 10 minutes, but
Gotta take what you can get.
this is schedules these
Yeah.
days, like planning for even just these small little increments where it's like, okay, I get home at 8 p.m. on Tuesday night, but I can prepare, maybe some overnight oats for the next couple nights or next couple mornings to make sure that I'm setting myself up for success because I know I'm not going to have time, right?
For sure.
So, a couple questions to start out with when we're looking at the schedule. So, we looked at the schedule, we put in our calendar of what we have coming up. So, what are the practice days? What are the game days? What are the competition? Parents, what do you have? Travel, work commitments, whatever you have, put it all in the family calendar.
Yes.
And now, okay, now let's put this into action.
Yeah, all into action there. There's a list of questions that you can kind of ask yourself and discuss maybe with your partner or even with the family, just to get yourself ready for, I guess, what the next steps are in this whole prep phase,
Yes.
we like to say. But yeah, as a mom, I wanted to ask you some questions with the little kiddos too. So when you are in this stage and you have kind of your schedule laid out for you, what are some like initial go-to questions you ask to take that next step in that prep phase?
Yeah, so we need awareness of what we currently have. So
That's a
this
big
is
one.
where, and I'm guilty for this. I cleaned out our freezer a little while ago and I was like, I did not know these things were in here. And it probably could have helped me for some of those nights when I do need something to just throw in the oven. So, being realistic about what it looks like. So what do we have in our fridge? What needs to be used up? So those veggies, they're shoved to the back of the fridge that need to be used up. Did you go to Costco and get like 3 bags of frozen chicken breast? Did you get some, prepared meatballs that you put in the freezer? Did you prepare some meals that are already in the freezer? So do an inventory, not just of your fridge, but of your pantry too. So do you have rice? Do you have quinoa? Are you low on potatoes? Are you low on sweet potatoes? Do you have these variety pieces that we're talking about too. So different vegetables and fruits that are available. Maybe everything's empty. That's also okay.
Yeah.
So, doing a scan of what we currently have. So what do you have for proteins? What do you have for your produce? So the peas here, the protein, the produce. So this is, your greens, your other vegetables. It doesn't have to just be fresh. What do you have in the freezer? So you could have, frozen beans, frozen peas, frozen broccoli. We usually always have these things in the freezer just because it's easy to, if you don't have any fresh vegetables, to just steam them and throw them on. So what do you have for produce? What do you have for protein? For protein, you want variety. So we don't just want to have chicken for every single meal, as tempting as that is, but typically we want to look at, having variety with your protein pieces. So chicken couple times a week. Maybe you're doing turkey as well. And then you want fish maybe a couple times a week, seafood, if you can get the whole family down with that. But very important from a variety perspective. And then maybe a red meat once to twice a week. And then maybe something that you wouldn't normally have. So this could look like a, maybe sausages or a pork dish or a lamb dish or something that you wouldn't normally have, maybe doing it on a Saturday or Sunday. So again, looking at, okay, what are the protein options that I have, and having that variety so you're not having a chicken meal every single day.
You can experiment a little bit more when you have more time on the weekends. Well, try those sausages if they're new for you when you have that larger window.
Exactly. And maybe that's not the weekend because of your crazy
True.
schedule. Maybe that's, another
Might
night.
be earlier.
With schedules these days, it could be it could be a wild card when you have that time. And then produce. So what do you have? The thing with produce that we want to look at is how much color and different varieties do we have. So if you just have green vegetables in your fridge, try to add some different colors. So some bell peppers, maybe that are, the reds and the purples and all these different colors. Now you don't need to get crazy, but it's just having a different source every night. Yeah. And you can repeat and you can have them as leftovers, but trying to, not make it broccoli every single night.
Eat the rainbow, as I tell the young athletes here.
Exactly.
Gotta
You
eat
want
the
to try
rainbow.
to eat the rainbow as much as possible, get variety, because they all offer us these different micronutrients, which are crucial for performance. So, macronutrients we know about: proteins, carbs, fats. But what about the micros? These are coming from those rich vegetables and fruits that we want to make sure that to get in as much as possible. Produce, what do you have? Fresh and frozen. And then pantry. So what is in the pantry? I cleaned up my pantry recently and I was like, wow, I did not know I had all these things. So so pantry, there can be a wide range of things you have in your pantry, but typically, grains are going to be in your pantry. So, rice and quinoa, even things like potatoes and sweet potatoes, those types of things, which obviously could be in the fridge as well. But what do you have for a carbohydrate source? So typically these will be pantry items. You also have things like oats and, breakfast options, things that you can quickly throw together. And you're also going to have your snacks. So I know our snack cupboard with 2 toddlers is always rammed, but also, making some on your own. So understanding that, okay, they're going to want snacks. Athletes all want snacks. So having that available to you in your pantry. What are some other things that I missed that we would have in our pantry?
Your pastas are always in there as well. That's
How did
a
I
big
forget?
carb.
That's my kid's favorite. I think every kid's favorite.
My Italian side was coming out when you didn't say it. I'm like,
Oh
wait,
my
the
gosh, how
pastas.
could I forget that?
So always the pastas in there as well. Oats is a really big one. I know you said that, but sometimes neglected in the morning. So those overnight oats, quick and easy, always awesome to make. So make sure you have some of those on hand is helpful. If you make like your homemade granola bars, it might be in the fridge depending on how you make them or when you make them. But even some other bars, like I know our go-to Hornby bars, those are always there.
My kids love those like fig bars from Costco.
Those are
like pretty. They're like a clean option for kids, quick, and they're like an energy source. So
quick and easy.
Things like that. Okay, so we have we did an inventory of what we have. We wrote it down, what needs to be used up, and then we do our sit down for 10 minutes. Doesn't have to be longer than this. Quick. And writing down some core meals. So start with this. So, if you're planning, say, on a Friday, then what does Sunday or Saturday and Sunday look like? Saturday, maybe it is a meal on the go because your son or daughter has a tournament. And so you need to have a meal on the go. So, okay, that's our meal out. Or if you can get home, maybe you can throw something in the slow cooker that you can have that night. Sunday, what does that look like? Do you have time for the big Sunday family dinner, or is it going to be rushed because of activities and whatever else? Or do you have like a prep window on Sundays? Typically this is kind of a reset day for a lot of people, so maybe you have time to prep some things. Being realistic about what your schedule is and what you want. Like if you don't want to spend your entire Sunday, prepping meals, that's also okay. You can also, do some core, like take an hour at the most and do some core things like cook some chicken breast, cook a thing of rice, cook a thing of potatoes, have veggies on hand to just steam. Those can be those quick options. So it also shouldn't be overwhelming. So starting small with like 1 to 3 options. So what this means is, okay, like we've planned out Saturday, we've planned out Sunday. Maybe you want to plan out Monday, Tuesday. Maybe you don't. Maybe you want to go back to the grocery store or order again on the Sunday. I would recommend to do like 3-day increments if you can, because
Mhm.
that way it's like a little less overwhelming having to go back to the
Yeah.
grocery store.
Less
Some
stops
people
for
love
you.
going to the grocery store that often.
Mhm.
I am not one of those. And I
Neither
also
am I.
like ordering the food right to the
Yeah.
door, the groceries, just because that way you can plan and then, it takes time to go to the
Mhm.
grocery store. So if you can start small with like, okay, what does Saturday, Sunday, Monday look like? I have my meals mapped out for that. So I have a, chicken, maybe a chicken stir fry on the Saturday.
Mhm.
Sunday, we're going to do a Sunday roast if we have time to do that. And then we're going to have a little leftovers for the next day
Mhm.
for lunches.
Yeah.
And then Sunday or Monday is a really crazy day. It's the beginning of the week. We're also going to do another, sheet pan meal where we're doing sausages and peppers and some greens, and we're just throwing it in the
Yeah.
oven. So there's 3 examples of quick meals. Maybe Tuesday you do Taco Tuesday. So you have some ground meat on you have some tortillas, you have some avocado, some salsa. So again, this is just 4 days that we looked at
Mhm.
where we can plan for those. And then maybe Tuesday you do another inventory. What
Yeah.
what do we need to do? Maybe that got you to Tuesday. And then Wednesday, Thursday is also really busy. We have practices, we have after school strength training sessions, whatever it is. So maybe we pick up a rotisserie chicken,
Mhm.
have some roasted potatoes that we literally throw in the oven. And again, if you have more time, like 30 minutes to, again, whip up a meal that could be super easy.
Yeah.
Pasta night, like we always do pasta night outs on Wednesdays. I don't know why.
Huh.
It's like good to split it up, but my kids
Yeah.
get super excited about pasta night. Obviously, I
Yeah.
can't believe I didn't
Ours
remember
is
that.
always Sunday. That's so funny.
Sunday, yeah, exactly.
Sunday
The
night pasta night.
Italian,
Oh, yeah.
exactly. So again, planning that out where, okay, what are these quick meals? They don't all have to be gourmet chef meals. I think it's hard to, with all the recipes and I mean, I get caught up in this, all the amazing resources that we have. And we're like, I'm going to try that recipe. And then they have a million ingredients that you don't have in your pantry. And you're like, okay, well,
Can get
now I don't know what to do.
overwhelming. Yeah. Sometimes the more basic ones are better.
Yeah. So,
Simple is
some
good.
staple, like I said, a Mexican night is always stir fry night, a pasta night. Those are always like usually 30 minutes or less,
Yep.
really quick options. I love a sheet pan dinners
Oh, yeah.
and I love a slow cooker. So that's 5 meals right there
Perfect.
that you can plan out, right? And again, I'm just using this as an example. Your family's going to have your favorites. Your kids are going to have, their pickiness and things that come
Mhm.
with being kids and going through different phases. But having those go-tos, and then if you do have time to like try a new recipe every week,
Yeah.
go for it. Those are the main areas that we want to focus on.
Mhm.
Looking at your schedule and seeing where do you have those prep windows. Snacks are something else that you have to consider.
Yeah.
So, I mentioned overnight oats. I mentioned, homemade granola bars. Like, yes, they take time, but typically those types of snack energy balls, like those are 3 that are kind of staples in our
Staples. Yeah.
what we recommend for athletes.
Mhm.
Yogurt bowls. So again, having those staples in your fridge where, you have the berries, you have the fruit.
Yeah.
I know the berry bill is going to be high if you you have toddlers or any kids.
You know about that with your little ones.
Yeah, just pints and pints, like,
The
yeah.
blueberries,
My
raspberries.
son can eat, like, entire pint of
Yeah.
raspberries in one sitting, and I'm like, "That's, like, $8." But, anyway,
Mhm.
regardless, frozen berries are also a great option for smoothies. So, what do we have for our, prepared snacks? I love doing this like the night before because again, 10 minutes at the most, you
Yeah.
can whip up some after the kids go to bed, or they can get involved and do it with you. So this is also key is that you want your kids, asthma, and this is to young athletes to get in the kitchen and help. That way you are controlling what your parents are giving to you
Mhm.
in these snack scenarios where like we have no food, where you have lots of food. It's just making it into something.
Yeah.
Right. So 10 minutes, maybe it is, again, taking control of what those after school snacks are going to be. And you've already prepped it the night before with your parents. And if you help, it'll take even less time.
Yeah.
So
Teamwork.
teamwork,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, those protein balls are always a staple and they're so easy to make. Every time I meet with one of the young athletes and they're like, oh, I don't know what to eat as a snack, always recommend making those homemade protein balls. Like max 15 minutes with those things. Keep them
Yeah.
in the fridge overnight. Easy to go.
Yeah.
Ready to go the next day. So they're always great to have on hand.
Exactly. And, they also have these in prepared options,
Yeah.
like the made good, like my kids love those granola bars,
Yes.
but I also feel granola bites, sorry, and the bars. But I also feel silly because I'm like, I could have made this
Yeah.
every time I say
Every
that.
time.
And again, parents, it's not for you to feel like this. I think it's just because it's, if you've never done that before, never prepared your own snacks, like start small
Mhm.
and start with one thing and then go from there. It's like anything, building habits on top of this. So, making sure that it becomes just easier is putting it into practice every single week
Yeah.
and having that planning and preparation piece.
Yeah.
So if preparation, like you're like, I can only find a half an hour in my schedule,
Yeah.
half an hour, you can cook some chicken breasts. You can cook, a batch of rice.
Mhm.
You could do, the overnight oats while those things are cooking. So again, just kind of looking at what time you have available and being realistic about it. And then you'll find that the more you plan in the beginning, the more that you will create time for this because you're like, oh, I really liked having those options. It actually made my life a lot easier to grab a chicken breast, grab cooked rice, grab, some cut up veggies in the
Mhm.
fridge. It made my life a lot easier and made me not think about all the things like what's for dinner, what's
Yeah.
for dinner, like the most dreaded question I think parents have. What's for dinner? But if it's
Yeah.
like planned out and you're like, the kids can even help you in that planning process. So if
Mhm.
you have teenage kids, for example, like get them involved. Like, what would you
Oh,
like to
yeah.
eat this week? Like maybe, I think Adrian's family used to do this. They used to like pick, like get a day of the week where they get to plan,
Aw.
or like I want taco night. Okay, perfect. So
Perfect.
Aaron, like
Yeah.
that night is for a taco night.
Mhm.
And so if you have kids, like ask them what their favorites are. I
Yeah.
mean, you're not going to cook pasta every single night,
Mhm.
but at least they'll have something to look forward to and they're involved in the process. So you're not going to get that, I don't feel like that
Yeah.
slow cooker meal, right?
Yep. Been there, done that. Sorry, Mom.
But you're getting involved in
Yeah.
the process. And
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest thing that, if you take away anything from this podcast is like you can be as young as my kids.
Mhm.
It's really messy and it takes twice the amount of time. But Kennedy helps me with dinner almost every single night. She
Aw.
brings her stool up and she has like she's
Mini
cutting
chef.
her. I have those like little toddler knives and she like cuts her cucumber and it's like so cute because it's
Yeah. That's adorable.
but as young as like she's 3 and she's
Cute.
still like she sees me in the kitchen, she sees that process.
Mhm.
and and then she also says, which is really funny, she always says like to Adrian and Wes or where she goes, you have to thank us for making dinner because that's also, it's so funny, but she makes sure that like, hey, I was part of the
Yeah.
making
She
this
put in the
process,
work.
so I need a thank you. She literally says that. I know
Oh
Adrian will
my
joke at that, but
goodness.
like
Mhm.
it's like part of the process is like she feels ownership over it
Yeah.
and they're way more likely to eat it if they were involved in the process. It's like, well, you
Absolutely.
made it too.
Oh.
So yeah, you have to thank us for the meal. I'm like, I love
That's
that.
so sweet.
Yeah.
She's a little girl
Wesley,
boss.
yeah, is too. And she's like, Wesley didn't say thank you. I'm like, well, it's gonna take him a little bit of time to understand that, but
He
but
doesn't
she's
get it
keeping
just
him
yet.
accountable.
There you go. There you go. Keep him on his toes. That's for sure.
Exactly, keeping him accountable.
I love that.
So one of the things we also wanted to talk about, so looking at the week, looking at these
Mhm.
prep windows, we're going to break this down even further in the upcoming. This is kind of an intro of, planning out the week, looking at these prep windows, giving you some ideas of how easy this can be, even if you have limited time, to just do that extra little bit of planning
Mhm.
of what's in the freezer, what's in the fridge, what's in the pantry, and what meals am I planning out?
Yeah.
How do I get my kids involved?
Mhm.
And then also, if life happens
Mhm.
and say your schedule is not your schedule, you had a sick kid or something came up where you didn't have the time you thought you were going to have to prepare that certain meal, and now you have to totally rearrange things, have a backup meal.
Yeah.
And so backup meals are things like, that are already prepped. So maybe it's a shepherd's pie from like the local,
Yeah.
farmer's market. This is an example of things that we do where we
Mhm.
have this farmer's market that's great and they have prepared meals.
Yeah.
And it's not what we prepared. It might not be, the best
Yeah.
option, but it is a great option in those like I
Mhm.
literally just need to put something in
Yeah.
the oven and set it and forget it.
Absolutely. The local butcher shops have a bunch of those options
Butcher
as well, ready to go.
shops,
That was
like
our favorite go-to. We'd always have a bunch of them stacked in that little deep freezer just in case. So if we had to come home and there was no other option, quick grab and go.
backup meals. So it's
Absolutely.
like if you can get fresh,
Mhm.
every week you should have 1 to 2 backup meals.
Yeah.
And so if what you planned didn't go as planned, which again is life, and
It
this is why we
happens.
want to make this very, easy and accessible to you,
Mhm.
is that life will happen. And so if you have two of those backup meals in the freezer,
Mhm.
or maybe you had some extra time and you prepped, I mean, who has extra time? But you you prioritize the time, I
Yeah.
should say it that way. You prioritize the time to, make maybe couple of Ziploc slow cooker meals.
Mhm.
So for example,
Awesome.
like you just put all the ingredients in the Ziploc. I'm sure you've seen these on Instagram and TikTok and all that. But it's a great option where it's
Yeah.
like literally everything's made for you. You just put it in the slow cooker and it cooks for
Ready to
you all
go.
day. It wasn't what you originally planned, but maybe
Mhm.
you have a couple of those. Um, yeah,
Yeah.
just having those backup meals. Like I
Mhm.
said, I would recommend 1 to 2 because
Yeah.
life gets lifing.
Yeah. Don't have yeah, of course. Even if you were to go grocery shopping, like how many times you go a week, once a week, for example, just have that backup meal in the back of your head just in case. Like you're going out, you're getting your regular foods. Oh, maybe I'll buy this extra just in case something happens because life happens.
Yeah.
But then also keeping on top of that inventory in that fridge, in that freezer, whatever you have.
Yeah.
I unfortunately was notorious in my university days for having lots of packaged goodies from Nonna. Thank you so much, Nonna. But it'd be in the deep freezer, and then over time, I'm like, I forgot.
Yeah.
But let's just say my fourth year was filled with ready to go foods, which was very convenient for me because I kept on track of them after everything. But
Yeah, do that
inventory is
inventory
key. Yes, absolutely. Keep on
because
track.
then like food waste is one of my
Hmm.
I hate wasting food,
Yes.
and
Mm-mm.
I'm sure most people do because you take the time to plan it and
Yeah.
buy it, and then when things go bad or you don't think about them,
Yeah.
yeah, I think being on top of that as much as you can, and
Yes.
even if it's like I said, just a weekly
Yeah.
inventory check, like
Check in
okay, what do
every
I
now
have
and
in the
then.
freezer? What can I use up?
Hmm.
Because yeah, but you'll I've done this where you just buy things that you already have,
Exactly.
and then you're like, oh, I already
Got
had
doubles,
it
triples.
was hidden.
Yeah. Exactly.
So yeah, taking the time to look at that, get your backup
Hmm.
meals. We are going to go in the next episodes through each one of these zones
Hmm.
in a lot of detail. So like the athlete fridge,
Yes.
the athlete pantry, the
Hmm.
athlete freezer as well, what to have available. So like, variety of fruits for smoothies, like all of this, to make it easy to prepare for these, challenges as busy athlete families.
Yeah. Yeah. And then to go with that, we actually created our very own resource here that we want to provide to all the athletes and to all the families who need a little assistance with this scheduling like we're going
Planning.
through because it happens. So yeah, it's a full calendar type schedule that you can plan for each day of the week according to those heavy load days, so those competition days, just a regular game day, practice day, rest day, looking at your schedule, what you have ahead, trying to schedule into each component your lunch, breakfast, dinner, your meals there. And then with that, we also have an outline of a grocery shopping list, empty for you to go, but breaking it down to produce, to the proteins, to the pantry as well. So hitting those 3 Ps that could just help make it a little bit easier for you when you are on the run to the grocery store and scheduling for your week ahead.
Yes. So we want to make it as easy as
Hmm.
possible for you. We will help you to fill in that grocery list over the next couple weeks. We'll go through some of our favorite staples in each of those zones that we talked about.
Yeah.